Let's talk about something that doesn't sit right. ESPN's offseason grades just dropped, and the Dallas Cowboys, they got slapped with a C grade. Yeah, C. That's not just middle of the pack. That's 30th out of 32 teams if you factor in tiebreakers. If you don't, it's a five-way tie for 26th. Only Atlanta and New Orleans ranked lower. Let that sink in. After a critical offseason where fans expected real progress, the Cowboys are being lumped in with teams like the Commanders, Panthers, and Jaguars. That's a tough pill to swallow. And who gave that grade? ESPN's Seth Walder. He broke it down like this. His favorite move: the George Pickens trade. What stood out in the draft? Dowdle in round 2. The move he disliked most: swapping out Rico Dowdle for names like Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, or Jaden Blue. Let's be honest, if your most exciting draft pick is a second rounder, that already says something about how the offseason was viewed. But here's where things really got rocky: the coaching hire. Walder took issue with how the Cowboys handled their head coaching search, and honestly, he's not wrong. The process was rushed, disorganized, lacked real depth. Only 4 candidates were interviewed: Kellen Moore, Brian Schottenheimer, Leslie Frazier, and Robert Soller. And it felt like 2 of those were just to meet compliance requirements. In the end, Brian Schottenheimer was handed the reins. No second interview for Moore. No real competition. Just handed the job. Now, that doesn't mean Schottenheimer can't turn out to be the right guy. In fact, since taking over, he's shown promising signs. But the process, it was flawed. And if we're being honest with ourselves as fans, we deserved better from the front office. So here's the question. How confident are you in Brian Schottenheimer heading into this season? Scale it from 1 to 10. Drop it in the comments. Back to the George Pickens deal. Let's break that down. On paper, it's a home run. Pickens gives Dallas exactly what they were missing: an outside, vertical, contested catch monster to pair with CD Lamb, who can move all over the field. This isn't just a solid fit, it's the ideal pairing for what Dak Prescott thrives on. But here's the flip side: even Mike Tomlin, who's managed every kind of personality you can imagine, had reportedly had enough of Pickens in Pittsburgh. That should raise a flag. The Cowboys might only have him for a year. If he walks in free agency, they could get a compensatory pick, so there's low long-term risk. But committing big money long-term, that's a gamble. Still, for 2025, George Pickens could be a massive difference maker. The truth is, this move reflects what Dallas needed: explosiveness, attitude, and a vertical threat to keep defenses honest. If Pickens delivers, that C grade might start looking laughable by mid-season. Let's be real, this whole George Pickens move is a gamble. And the Cowboys know it. If the same off-field concerns that haunted him in Pittsburgh start creeping up again in Dallas, you walk away. It's a one-year swing, and you take the loss. But if things go right, if Pickens locks in, clicks with Dak, and delivers on the field, then you can talk long-term. That's why the front office is smart to wait on an extension. Don't rush it. Let Pickens prove himself in 2025. Earn the trust. There's risk involved, but it's calculated, and in this case, it's worth it. Now, shifting gears, one move that flew a bit under the radar: odighizuwa's extension. Seth Walder gave this one more credit, and he should have. The Cowboys locked down a premium interior pass rusher at a time when defensive tackle prices are skyrocketing. Let's look at the numbers. OSA signed a 4-year deal worth $80 million, with $39 million guaranteed. That may sound like a lot, but here's why it's smart. He ranked 4th in pass rush win rate in 2023, dropped to 11th in 2024, but he's still firmly a top 15 DT in the league. Compared to someone like Milton Williams, who landed a deal worth $6 million more per year, the Cowboys got real value. As of now, Odighizuwa is the 15th highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. and that number will only fall as new deals are signed across the league. Critics might say Dallas overpaid, but let's be honest. There weren't many better options out there. Guys like Javon and Poona Ford would have cost serious money too, and didn't offer nearly the same impact. In hindsight, the Cowboys made the right call. They secured a difference maker at a reasonable price before the market exploded. That's how you build long-term stability on defense. Now let's talk about the draft, and things get a little murkier here. Walder wasn't overly critical, but you could sense the hesitation, especially around the Booker pick at number 12 overall. He questioned the positional value and wondered whether Dallas exhausted all trade-back options before taking him. Fair points. Booker wasn't projected that high by most analysts. But here's the thing. There's no guarantee he would have been there later. If the Cowboys believed he was their guy, you take him. Simple as that. That's the reality of draft night. Sometimes it's about conviction, not consensus. The Cowboys were locked in at pick number 12, and despite attempts to trade down, the offers just weren't there. Yes, they worked the phones. Yes, they talked with teams like the Texans. But rather than taking bad value, they stuck to their board and grabbed the highest-rated player left. And that player was Booker. Now, Seth Walder had some reservations about the positional value, and that's fair criticism. But sometimes it's about conviction, not waiting to be clever. Booker wasn't going to fall past pick 25 or 26. The Cowboys made a choice, and it's one they're going to stand behind. On the flip side, Walder loved the pick of Donovan Ezeraku at number 44 in round 2. And he wasn't alone. Ezeraku came into the draft as a fringe first-rounder, and he absolutely flashed on film. Walder even projected 7.5 sacks for his rookie year. That's high praise coming from an analytics-driven scout. Ezeraku brings edge power, speed, and bend that the Cowboys haven't had from a young pass rusher in a while. It's a pick that matches value with upside. And in today's NFL, that's gold. Overall, when you stack the Cowboys' draft class, it looks strong. Booker may be a reach, but fills a need. Ezeraku could be a defensive cornerstone. Revel has the traits to develop. Jaden Blue in the 5th round, steal. Even Shama James, though slightly early, adds depth at linebacker. And a name like Jay Toya could sneak into the rotation by year's end. Bottom line, the Cowboys stayed true to their board, and it shows. This draft wasn't flashy, but it was smart. Grade B+ pushing toward A. But where things start to get murky is in the running back room. This is where Walder handed out some of his sharpest criticism, and it's not without reason. The Cowboys moved on from Rico Dowdle, who played very well in 2024, especially in tough, after-contact yardage. In his place, they brought in Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and Jaden Blue. Let's be real, Dowdle was more productive than either Williams or Sanders over the past year. Williams still hasn't returned to form post-injury. Sanders hasn't looked the same since leaving Philly. And Jaden Blue. He's explosive, but not a bell cow back. That's not who he was at Texas, and it's not who he'll become overnight. If the Cowboys had simply kept Dowdle and paired him with Blue, it might have made more sense. Instead, they may have downgraded at a position that's already been shaky in recent years. Then there's the Kenneth Murray Jr. trade, and this one raised more than a few eyebrows. Here's what Dallas gave up: a 6th and 7th round pick swap. Sounds minor, right? But they also took on a $7.5 million salary for a linebacker coming off one of the worst seasons of his career. Murray ranked as the 5th worst run-stopping linebacker in the league among those with at least 300 snaps. This is what you call a maybe we can fix him move. Yes, Murray still has elite athleticism. He can run, he can chase. But the problems are still the same as they were coming out of Oklahoma. Once he's taken off his path, things unravel. If you keep him clean, he flashes. But if you ask him to navigate traffic, it gets messy fast. So was a C grade from Seth Walder too harsh? Honestly, Maybe. Because when you look at the full body of work, from the pickens swing to the odighizuwa extension, to a draft class filled with potential, this might be the best offseason Dallas has had in years. But there's context. The bar for the Cowboys has been low for a long time. So yes, by Cowboys standards, this offseason might be an A, but by NFL standards, it's closer to a solid B, with questions left to answer, especially in the run game and linebacker room.